Now, the question is today, which bar do you choose to go to when you're in Pattaya? I use Pattaya as an example, but it could be anywhere in Bangkok because not every bar is the same. There's a lot of differences, and a lot of people don't really know. I didn't really find out all the differences until I'd been to Thailand many times. And so, we're going to talk a little bit about what you're looking for and the best bar that's going to make you happy for what you're looking for. So the first kind of bar we're going to talk about, and I this last trip I was right on Beach Road, and just so happened there was a little bar, local place, uh, real small, not a lot of ladies. There was basically servers that were ladies. Um, it was just basically a place to go drink beer, and that's because sometimes you don't want to have to worry about buying lady drinks, and you're not looking for company or a date or anything. You're just going in to have a beer and relax. You had a lot of walking and sweating, and you just want to cool off. And this place was great. It was right on Beach Road. It had an open front to where you could sit on a stool right at the basically sidewalk level and just people watch. And no one kept asking you buy me a drink or anything. It was very easy, very fun, and it was just relaxing. So, because sometimes you want that experience, you don't want to have to deal with. It seems like everywhere you go, if you go to the wrong kind of bar, you feel obligated. Kind of, a girl will sit with you, and you feel obligated to buy her a drink, and then one drink leads to two and five and 10 or whatever, and it can add up with the price of lady drinks. There's a lot of those kind of bars on Beach Road. There's a lot of those kind of bars on really every road. You just have to look where there's not a lot of where the bar girls are all dressed the same. There's a lot of them. That's not the kind of bar you're looking for if you don't want to worry about lady drinks. You just want a place to where it looks like a normal place that serves food and alcohol. You walk in, they have three or four ladies in there that serve you, and that's it. It gives you a more relaxed environment if you just want to have a drink and not be bothered. The only thing I will say is if you're on Beach Road, you will be bothered, but not by the people in the bar. The peddlers, oh my God. When you're sitting there, like every 5 minutes, somebody's asking you to buy a watch or Viagra or cigarettes or something. And you get good at it after the first couple of times. You get good at that kind of disturbed look to where you look kind of angry. They get the picture. You don't want to be asked again. So that kind of helps itself. But like I said, that would be the first kind of bar, just a standard bar. Sometimes these servers, you can ask them out on a date, and sometimes they do bar fine, but that's not really the purpose of that kind of place. You're going to just people watch and relax and have a beer. Now, the second kind of place, very similar to this, is where you go to a bar and there's only, one or two bar girls in the place. It's similar because you can say no thank you if they come up and sit with you. You're never obligated to buy a drink for anyone. And that's don't ever feel like you are. If you just want to sit and have a beer in a bar, tell whoever comes over, no thank you, not right now, or no thank you, I'm not interested. They understand. You're having a drink, you're supporting the bar. They're not going to be mad at you. It isn't like, they're going to expect you to do anything in that kind of place if there's only a couple of girls. Now, if you go to a place that has, 10, 15 ladies all dressed the same, they're all in a certain outfit, that is the kind of bar you're starting to get into where, the girls are, they don't expect it, and it varies a lot by where you go. You're going to go, if you go to, let's say, Soy Six, the girls are going to put more pressure on you to buy them a drink. If you go to uh, Soy Chapun or one of the older parts of town, not so much. The girls just, they're very nice. They're low key about the drinks and everything. You can buy one drink, you can buy them 10, you can buy them none. So, but if you go into that kind of place, don't be a cheap guy. Buy the girl a drink if she's going to sit with you. But that's one of the major differences. A good thing too is where when you go into the local little place just to sit and have a beer, you don't have to worry about a lot of things. Most of those places don't have a mama san that takes care of the girls because there's only a few girls in the place. When you start getting into the bars that have multiple girls, like there's 5 to 15 girls there, they have a mama san. And the mama san is really, it's a woman who takes care of the girls. She's a good person. If you've never been to a bar before and don't really know the process of the bar itself, okay, the mama san is a good person to go up to and get to know. Buy her a drink. It'll be the best, $4 or $5 you ever spend because you can ask whatever questions you have. I never knew this, but in a lot of places that have a lot of girls to where they do bar fine, there's that aspect of it. The A lot of the girls in Pattaya don't bar fine. They stay in the bar and just work for drinks. They just sit with men, visit with them, socialize, because there are a lot of men that go into bars and just want to have a drink, but they would like conversation. Maybe they're married and they don't want it to go any further. They just want to sit and talk to a pretty lady. And so for those occasions, it is a good idea, to talk to the mama san and say, what are the expectations? If you do want to bar fine a girl, ask which girl's bar fine. So you're not, because one of the things that's irritating for some men is they go in and they don't ask. They just sit down, they see a girl, it's like, boy, she's pretty. They start talking to her, they really like her, and they want to date her. They want to take her out of the bar for a date. And they go after, 10 drinks in, they say, well, I would like to bar fine you. How much is it? And they say, oh, I don't bar fine. And it's like the guy feels like he's been almost cheated because he spent all the money on these drinks with the anticipation that he was going to bar fine her. But really, it's not her fault. It's your fault for not asking. Same with anything else. Any kind of activity you want to do once you leave the bar, you need to talk to the girl and see and make sure that that's okay. It's like you can't just assume things in a Pattaya. Just because it's what a lot of people do here doesn't mean it's what everyone does. Now, when you start into the standard bars, and that's probably the majority of bars where you have a lot of girls, they're waiting to have drinks with men, and that's fine. You can go into those bars and not have a girl sit with you if you don't want her to, but if that's what you want, look for the smaller bar that doesn't have a bunch of girls standing around, because it is, it kind of makes you feel uncomfortable when there's 20 girls all waiting for a customer and you walk in and 3, 4 girls ask you if you buy them a drink. It kind of makes you feel uncomfortable turning them all down. So that's why I say, what bar is right for you? Because if you don't want to buy lady drinks, then go to a bar that doesn't have ladies. It's real simple. Then you get into the places like Soy Six and Walking Street, to where the girls are going to be like putting more pressure on you to buy them drinks. It's a thing. The whole business is set up in a higher rent district to where they have to sell more drinks to pay the rent. So the girls are going to pressure you more to buy them drinks, to bar fine them, whatever else. So that's, don't go to Soy Six and sit by your. I mean, you can, like I said, there's no law that says you have to buy a lady drink, but it's just kind of, you don't want to feel uncomfortable with people looking at you because you're sitting there all by yourself and you won't buy the girls a drink if you go to Soy Six or you go to Walking Street. Then there are other types of bars too. And one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is the price difference between an evening of drinking or an evening out, let's say. I won't say drinking, because when you start just ordering one drink after another, after another, after another for you, and then you're buying a girl another drink, lady drinks one after the other, it adds up. So if you're in that situation, you can go to the cheapest bar in Pattaya and it still could add up to be quite a bill by the end of the night. I personally don't like throwing my money away like that. I don't, if I'm going to have a lot to drink, I'll go to a bar to where it's just, the local bar. I'll sit on the street, I'll drink, but I don't drink that much, so I'll have two, three, four drinks, stop. Some people just keep drinking, and if you go to a higher priced place like Walking Street or Soy Six, it's going to add up by the end of the night. Same with the bar fines. Bar fines. Last trip I went, it was in low season, which I will qualify by saying that, but there was one place that their bar fine was 300 baht. That's on the very low end. I went to the next place and I was talking to the girl I was sitting with just to find out because I do these videos and I've written the book and I like to know these things. I said, well, how much your bar? It was 1,500 baht for her bar fine. And the quality of lady, because sometimes you see, when you go to Soy Six, a lot of times you have some of the most attractive ladies working there. They command a higher price because of how attractive they are. Same with Walking Street. So it is important that you kind of pick the bar for the experience you want and don't try to get a different experience than what the bar normally offers. A lot of people, I hear so many complaints about, oh, things are so expensive. But then people will sit in Soy Six and drink after drink. And they're kind of a cheap Charlie and they don't want to spend a lot of money. Soy Six isn't where you should be then. Or Walking Street. That's a very expensive place to drink and for bar fines and everything else. There are a lot of less expensive alternatives to that. So that's one of the things. And if you don't feel like, you're tired and you just want to have a beer and be left alone, then, like I said, the local place that's right on the beach road or one of the other places that doesn't have all the girls, it's nice looking at the girls. When you go to Soy Six, everybody, they're beautiful, they're young. You may not talk to them, you may not sit and buy them a drink, but, they're just very pretty to look at, basically, if nothing else. So, but, it kind of, they're working, and it would be like somebody coming into your work and saying, I'm just here to look. I don't want to spend money. I don't want to buy the product that you're selling. I'm just looking because it's fun. So, there's, like I said, the difference in the price, though, is something that a lot of people right now, talking about Thailand, how everything's so expensive, but it's all relative. Okay, you have to look at it as things are expensive because you have these old guys that have been going to Pattaya for the last 30 years, and they're like, oh, 30 years ago it used to be this and that. And they do nothing but complain about how things have changed and the price is different. Okay, 30 years, everything has changed and the prices are different everywhere for everything. But you take a guy, which is his first time in Pattaya, he's been there for 2 weeks, and you talk to him at the end of 2 weeks, and he's like, man, this is the greatest place ever. So it's a perspective thing, okay? And the other thing is the way that people spend money. If you don't want to spend a lot of money, don't buy a lot of lady drinks. Ask how much the bar fine is. Ask how much the time for your date is. It's okay to ask. And if you walk in and just act like it doesn't matter, then you're going to get stuck with paying a lot more than you normally would. Another thing to think about is what you want the ultimate goal for the evening to be. If some people go and they just want to sit and talk to a young lady at the bar, and that's fine. You're going to buy some lady drinks, as long as you don't let it get out of hand, it's fine. But some people actually want to go out of the bar. And so you need to kind of know what you're doing. If you want to go, some guys want to take one of the bar girls out and go clubbing and dancing. And that's fine. But make sure the girl dances. Make sure that's enjoyable to her. If there's anything else you want, again, be specific and talk to her about what you have in mind so she can tell you, yes, I do that. No, I don't. Here's how much it is. So one of the things, too, is the way the bar is structured will ultimately depend on how much money you spend. When I go out, I tend to, a lot of guys hesitate so much. They sit and they drink and they drink and they drink, and then they finally decide, yeah, this is a girl. I really like her. I want to go out and do this or that on a date. And by that time, they've spent so much on lady drinks and so much on their own drinks, and the bars love it. It's great for them. That's so good for you or your wallet. But a lot of times there are alternatives, okay? And one of the alternatives in the whole bar setup and the way the bars are set up is a gentleman's club. If you are going out for to meet a lady for a date, and this is YouTube, so we'll call it a date. The gentlemen's clubs offer some of the you can. I mean, I'm not saying you can't spend a lot of money. If you get crazy with drinks, you're gonna spend a lot of money. If there's a lot of things that can drive up the price. But one of the good things about gentlemen's clubs is they have places for you to spend time with the lady outside, well, not outside of the bar, but it's in the bar, but they have areas to where you can, have your date right on site. So it's something that does save a considerable amount of money. When I tend to date more than I go out to date a bar girl. But if I am so inclined, I go to a gentleman's club. Gentlemen's clubs are kind of cause and effect. Everything's set up in a very kind of concrete way to where if you do this, then that's going to happen. If you get my drift, and it's kind of progressive. And then if you want to have a date with the lady, there's the fee and everything's, like I said, all self-contained. So there are a lot of choices that you have, and that's what you have to know is what your choices are to make the best decision for what you want.